Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. Finally get to... Oh, I'm all off-centered here. What's going on? Nope, wrong way. Huh. Strange. Anyways, thanks for being here. Yeah, I've had a real crazy week, so thanks for bearing with me. Was doing a lot of like live streams in the car and stuff like that. It's been incredible, the stuff that I've had. Just life stuff, people being ill close to me. Everyone's fine now. But yeah, it was a crazy week. So between that and work, other stuff like that, it's been crazy. So I haven't had time to really sit down and do a live stream like this. I will warn you, this will not be the traditional 4-hour Rob ranting. I do have to leave for a birthday party at 5 o'clock, so I'll be going for an hour. And it's going to be one topic. We're going to talk about the coronavirus, the fallout from it, kind of angles that I have on it. Some tough calls that I think, tough truths that people have a difficult time talking about, particularly people in positions that maybe want to run for office at some point in the future like me, but that's what it is. I'll say this at the top. I can't speak on this much, but I might be pursuing a new career opportunity that'll give me more of a chance to deal with politics and things like that. I'm not going to go into specific details, but I just want to let people know that will directly result, if I end up taking this position, and me being able to be more consistent, to be able to be doing more recordings from my home studio and to get more material out there. So hopefully that'll be good for everyone who likes listening to me. However, it will come at a financial cost to me, and I'm going to be taking a significant pay cut if I end up taking this position. So it's something that I still think that I'm going to try to do. I'll keep you all more posted, but just know, yeah, that'll be the trade-off. I'll get to do this more, but I'll be making less money. So it is what it is, but I think it's worth it. I think we're at a crucial time in our country's history where we need to stand up and fight back to get back to constitutional principles to ensure that the insane establishment people that are running, particularly the establishment Democratic Party, don't get into power, turn our country into a socialist country, or become even more corrupt than it already is. So it's just my part of something that I'm trying to do. Did I get the coronavirus? No. My wife that was sick, did she have the coronavirus? No, she had an ear infection, but still not feeling good for 2 days. So I was trying to help out with her. By helping out, I mean we were watching Better Call Saul, and I would occasionally go get her a tea or something. But that's helping as far as I'm concerned. So, but no, I live in rural Pennsylvania. I've not heard of anyone remotely near the area I live getting the coronavirus. It's something we'll talk about here, but no, nothing like that. So let's just jump in. I only have an hour, so no time for him and Han today. I just did a video you can check out. It's only 2 minutes. I'm trying to do a lot of these 2 minutes, 20-second videos so that they could go on Twitter without having to put a link to YouTube. So if you check that out on my YouTube channel, it's just this quick 2-minute video on examples of the coronavirus being politicized, particularly by the establishment left. And I go through a group of them. So I'll just elaborate since I was trying to make it short there. And that's the first thing I want to talk about. Now, is the virus a serious deal? Yes, I think it's serious in the sense that I don't know how contagious it is. I'm not an expert. I don't know how lethal it is. I'm not an expert. I can only listen to what the experts tell me. I have to be honest with you. I have a difficult time trusting people anymore, whether it be people, government officials on any party, whether it be the media. Why would I believe them? They've spent the past 4 years. It's been much longer than that, but the last 4 years, we could see just the incredible one-sided blatant lies that they're merely propagandists. We see that executive branch agencies like the FBI, the CIA, have lied to us over and over again, have broken the law over and over again. They think that us, the normal Americans' voice shouldn't matter. They're in charge of all of us. We need to shut our traps. So why would I believe them now? Am I saying that means they're wrong? No, I'm just saying it's their fault. Trust in the media and trust in government agencies are at all-time lows, and it's their fault because they lie to us over and over. So as a fan of limited government, one of the things I think we should have a government for is things like natural disasters, things like, foreign defense, other, etc. But you can't even, when they lie to you about all the other things over and over again, when they are willfully breaking the law, they'll charge people for lying to Congress. But when we have Comey and Clapper and Brennan and McCabe and them all lie to Congress, they say, oh, no. We're not held to that standard. Are you kidding me? So why would I believe people from agencies like that now? On the other hand, I have a better understanding of the corruption that occurs in like the intel agencies, politicization of things and things of that nature. I have zero expertise at all on anything health related. Maybe you could tell if you're not listening to me in podcasts, if you would see me. I don't have the most healthy physique in the world. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know. I don't know. It's not my area of expertise. Everything that you hear on television from, the CDC or stuff, it could be absolutely true about the coronavirus. Or it could be being blown way out of proportion. I know this. The media doesn't know any more than I know. And they're a bunch of corrupt people that want the coronavirus to spread. They want to destroy the United States economy because, as Bill Maher admitted, they're totally cool with poor people suffering. They wanted a recession as long as it means taking out the bad orange man. And I could prove it, as I will when I go through this list here. So what I'm talking about here with the coronavirus is how it's being politicized. And again, I'll repeat what I've been saying the past couple weeks on this. I don't have to prove that this was weaponized by the Democrats or by George Soros or whatever. I don't know that. My gut feeling says that the World Health Organization facility in Wuhan, and don't forget it was a World Health Organization facility in Wuhan, was probably working on weaponizing viruses. I doubt that they released it on purpose. Maybe they did. I don't know. But nonetheless, it got released. What matters is this. There will be things. There's some people that want to say everything is a false flag or everything is an intentional behavior by governments. I don't think that's always true. For example, I think there could be a forest fire that wasn't set by the New World Order, that wasn't set by George Soros. But what I do know is this. Those organizations, the establishment government in the United States and other governments around the world and the globalists, even if something occurs naturally, they know how to use it to their advantage. Oh, forest fire must be global warming. A hurricane, global warming. So we need this climate change plan, which basically results in erasing the middle class of the United States. Did they start the fire? Probably not. But they know how to use it to their advantage. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have some deep insight in, what was it called? Event 201 and Bill Gates and the planning of a pandemic that would occur in the United States. I don't know. Could that just been a purely coincidental that Bill Gates was trying to profit off of a future pandemic and then one happened because it's predictable at some point a pandemic would happen? Of course it could be coincidence. Could it be that Bill Gates was somehow involved in the manufacturing of this virus and it's part of a Georgia Guidestones type thing to increase human depopulation, lead to globalization, and wipe out the middle class and a bunch of poor people? Yes, that could be true. I don't know. It's not my area of expertise. There are people that I'm friends with that do more on this on their channels, and feel free to check them out. But I think if we're all honest, none of us have a smoking gun proof on anything like that. What I do have proof on is they're willing to weaponize something like this and cheer for it and spread fear if it means taking out a threat to their establishment power. Regardless if they intentionally set up the conditions for the virus or if it's just a happy accident for them. They benefit from it. Who's they? The establishment, the deep state, the people in the media that hate Trump, that are just corrupt propagandists for the intel community. The intel community that's hoping and praying that Trump doesn't get to be able to actually investigate and hold them to accountable for the crimes and sedition that they've committed. Academia, the mainstream media, I already said. The entertainment industry, Silicon Valley, all the people that are the globalist cheerleaders that are part of that want to diminish any outside threat to them, which Trump represents the biggest one to them. They'll definitely use this to their advantage. Of course. So let me go through the top 5 that I talk about. Check out that short 2-minute video I did, but let's go through. Number 5 is the idea that you see so many people in the media saying, well, to say Chinese virus or it's a foreign virus or it's the Wuhan virus is racist. Now listen, if you're concerned about people dying, which, look, and here's the other thing. Let me make this real quick. I also think that there's an overreaction of people that want to defend Trump to be like, well, anyone who even says that this is a potential dangerous thing is just out to hurt Trump. I think Tucker Carlson's one of the best newsmen on TV. He's been doing a lot on the possible dangers of this. His angle is more, look, the reason that this became so dangerous is because establishment politicians on both sides of the aisle sold out the United States, our manufacturing industry, our medical industry to China, so to line their own pockets and to destroy blue-collar working class people in the United States. And now look at the situation we find ourselves in. I think Tucker's absolutely right on this. But so many people I've seen is like, I'll never watch Tucker again. He's fallen right into the Democrat trap. He's just blaming Trump. That's not what he's doing. I don't think by just saying, hey, I don't know, this could be a bad situation, I don't think that necessarily means you're aligning against Trump. And so we have to be careful. There's this too much of an us versus them mentality where it seems like if you don't agree 100% with my defense of Trump, then you're off the team. I don't want to hear from you. I defend Trump as well as anyone. In fact, I don't think saying that the virus is a threat is harming Trump in any way. I think Trump's doing a pretty good job of trying to handle it. But if you're really concerned, and you could be a good person, you can even say, hey, I don't think Trump's doing a good job. I'm concerned the coronavirus could kill a lot of people. I'm not saying that automatically makes you a terrible person. Fair enough. Legitimate concern. And then the next point out of your mouth is, oh, by the way, my biggest concern is by referencing that it's from China is racist. Then you're not really concerned about the virus killing people. That's point positive proof that you're more concerned about the political ramifications, about being a progressive social justice warrior, than you are keeping people safe from this virus. Just like when Barack Obama would say, oh, Islam has nothing to do with Islamic terrorism. Ridiculous. If you can't even name the problem, then you can't successfully combat the problem. Barack Obama, I kid you not, at one point after an Islamic terrorist attack said, not only did the religion of Islam have nothing to do with that terror attack, it had less to do with Islam than any other religion. You get that? Hey, you Quakers out there, do you get that? When Islamic terrorists are bombing buildings, it's more you Quakers' fault than Islam's. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The truth is, China lied to the world about the extent of the virus for months. They didn't do enough to contain the people that were there. They actively tried to cover up facts to make themselves not look bad. The World Health Organization was on board and claimed that China was doing things good. They then used disgusting draconian measures once the cat was out of the bag to try to, as a last-ditch effort to try to prevent it. And if we can't call that out, if we have to somehow pretend, oh, it's racist to say that, the same people saying it's racist or it's wrong to criticize China for that are saying, Trump, it's Trump's fault, it's Trump's fault, it's Trump's fault. That's ridiculous. And never forget the World Health Organization. What good are they again? Again, it was one of their facilities that this came out of in Wuhan. What was their big thing last week? Were they releasing information on how to protect yourself on policy prescriptions and things like that? No, the big document they released was, don't leave this cause racism. Don't leave the virus make you think unfairly of people in China. Now listen, you see these horrendous videos where, a bunch of people will mob an Asian-looking person because they're like coronavirus. Those people are disgusting bigots and out of their minds. Yes, we could call them out. But when we're talking about a pandemic that's supposedly so severe that we basically have to shut down all commercial activity in the United States, and people's number one concern is, and racism, this is nonsense. Get back to your social justice, virtue signaling, pandering once we contain the virus. How about that? Can't you just at least wait to scream racism until we make sure that no more people are getting sick? Isn't that a possibility? No, not for these people. So I could talk about this all day, but it's nonsense, Number 4, did you see the bill that just got passed? Again, these are the 5 worst ways I've seen this politicized. So we just passed a bill in the House, and the Republicans completely caved. And here's what happened. Say what you will about the establishment Democrats. Yes, they're crooked, they're corrupt, they're disgusting. I would never vote for them. I think they're afraid of Trump because they know that Trump has the potential to bring them down. But they're shrewd politically sometimes. Not all the time, sometimes. I'm drinking my sugar-free Kool-Aid here. They were able to push, because they control the narrative, because the Republicans, as I say all the time, won't go on the offense, constantly playing defense. They allow the establishment left to control the public narrative by controlling the mainstream media, the entertainment industry, academia, the Silicon Valley. And so the Republicans are always, we're sorry, we're not racist. We're sorry, we're not bigots. We're sorry, we're not bad people. They let the Nancy Pelosi of the world say, you don't care about people dying of the coronavirus. You people are terrible. You're terrible. You're terrible. You have to vote for this bill. What's in the bill? Hey, you taxpayer, maybe you're a conservative out there. Guess what? You're funding abortion in the coronavirus bill. Makes sense, right? And a bunch of other crap that has nothing to do with keeping people safe from the virus. Now, this is the same thing I say about climate change, right? Let's just use climate change as an example. Let's say you truly believe we have, what's Bernie? Somehow the number keeps, do you notice the number keeps getting shorter? At the beginning of this year, it seemed like they were saying, we have 10 years to drastically change our actions or we'll all be dead of climate change. Now it's 7, according to Bernie in the last debate. So I don't know where, in 6 months, we've lost 3 years somehow. But let's say you believe that. We have 7 years to drastically change our way of life, basically eliminate the use of fossil fuels, or we're all doomed. It'll be the end of the world. So if you believe that, and you're going to write a plan, that plan might seem extreme. I disagree with your, with the premise. I disagree we're all dead in 7 years if we don't change. But if you believe that, I could understand that logically, the plan you would come up with would be extreme and have to do with ending fossil fuels. That's what it would be focused on. Instead, what's the Green New Bill? Read the Green New Bill. It should be real simple, right? It's just about ending fossil fuels, encouraging green energy, right? No, that's just the tippy top of it. Then you got a bunch of crap about racial justice and making sure that jobs and money are handed out to communities that have been disparaged or have been... Wait, what? What does that have? We're all dead in 7 years and you're worried about talking about black communities getting reparations? What the heck does that matter? How about we solve the climate? We'll talk about that stuff later. But according to you, we're dead in 7 years. Or at least it's irreparable in 7 years. We'll all be doomed if we don't act in them. That would be the equivalent of this. Say you get a notice from the township and you own a house. And they say, hey, the pipes underneath your house are your responsibility. And they're in such disrepair that we're literally taking your house. We're kicking you out of your house and condemning it at the end of the year if you don't solve these leaky pipes that you have. And so you sit down with your family and you're like, oh man, this is our number one priority. We can't get kicked out of our house. Let's come up with a plan, a financial plan. How are we going to solve these pipes? Well, the first thing we'll do is we have to get a new dog house for the dog, right? Oh, it's important that our dog be very comfortable. And let's also budget money for a vacation. Then it's clear that your number one priority isn't the pipes. The same with climate change. If you're talking about reparations or paying people that don't want to work, then you're not concerned about climate change like you claim to be. It's the same with this coronavirus bill. If that's what the agenda was, then both sides should have came together and said, hey, the Republicans should have said, we're not going to be talking about pro-Second Amendment issues on this financing coronavirus bill. We're not going to be talking about, bills that have nothing to do, maybe religious freedom and things like that. And the Democrats should be saying, we're not going to be talking about, funding abortions. We're not going to be talking about funding all this other stuff. This is literally about the coronavirus. It's an emergency. It's a state of emergency. It's a pandemic. Let's get a bill that focuses strictly on that. But instead, it's got a shoehorn in abortion there, doesn't it? Sounds like they're real concerned about the virus. And of course, predictably, the Republicans cave, as always. Well, they don't want to look like the bad guys. Now, someone explain to me, if this wasn't political, if it was legitimately about the corona, and again, I'm not even trying to make it partisan. I'm saying I will assume the Democrats are acting on good faith for the purpose of this argument. Okay, you're really concerned about people potentially dying of this virus. What can we do to help America get through this trying time where we're shutting businesses down, people are getting sick? What can we do to help? Where does the money go? What does abortion have anything to do with that? It's clear they care more about abortion than they do about the coronavirus. That's how you know it's political. Number 3, everyone's criticized Trump's plan. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people on the left have criticized Trump's handling of this, of Trump's plans. He's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. I heard people say, oh, it's good that, Trump should have acted faster. He should have made sure that this wasn't able to spread. He should have done more. And then simultaneously, it's outrageous that he's banned travel from Europe. Can you believe he didn't leave those Carnival cruise ships dock sooner? Well, you can't have it both ways. Never forget, Schumer, the person who's out there, one of the people spearheading that Trump's not doing enough. This is all Trump's fault. Never forget, When Trump in early February suggested banning flights to and from China, he was one of the first people out there saying this is just basically saying it was more of Trump's racism, more of him wanting to keep people of certain communities out, xenophobia. Then what should he have done? I've asked this, please, someone tell me, what did Trump do specifically that was wrong? Because can anyone give you an example? I don't know, and I understand there's different demographic situations, different medical industry situations, etc. But it seems like the United States so far is handling it much better than other places in the world, like Italy, obviously like China. That's despite the fact that we have a large population. We have a lot of travel that occurs throughout our country. Heck, we even have cities that have homeless populations that are ridiculous out in California where people are defecating in the street. Despite that, things have been okay. Could they be better? Sure. I don't know. I don't know who to trust on this. But I can't see. It seems like everyone just wants to scream, Trump's fault, Trump's fault, Trump. What are you talking about? What should he have done better? It's easy to pay Monday morning quarterback. Oh, I would have done this. I would have done that. So Joe Biden comes out and he issues a plan. And right out of the old Biden playbook, it's basically just Trump's plan. Oh, I would have had free testing for everyone, says Biden, says Hillary. Okay, how? It's not monopoly money. What would you have done? The same people that are telling you, oh, I would have been prepared for this, I would have been prepared, are the same people that have been telling you for years it's racist to have a wall, that we have to leave people come in, basically open borders. That this policies in LA and San Francisco where people are defecating on the street and using hypodermic needles, that's the way to go. And when people said, look, open borders, defecating in the street, this could cause diseases, they said, you're racist. You're a racist for saying that. Now those same people are saying, well, if I was in charge, I would have done better. How? Yeah, it's easy. Watch, here's my big plan if I was in charge. If I was in charge, I would have developed a vaccine for the coronavirus 5 years ago. Problem solved, right? Rob, no one knew about the coronavirus 5 years ago. Shut up, I would have had it solved. I'd have had testing kits out already. What are you talking about? So Biden's appalled at Trump's plan, and Biden's plan is basically the same as Trump's plan. I mean, is it too much to ask? Can't you just wait to scream at each other politically until after the virus? You couldn't wait? Number two. And the top two are equally, to me, the biggest examples of how this has been politicized. I said this the day that this New York Times article came out. Never forget, as this goes on, regardless of, I'm hoping, and if it was up to me, not one person would get the coronavirus more. Everyone that has it would make a full recovery. Businesses would start to pick up again. Everyone, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, left-wing, right-wing, everyone's finances would start doing better again, and the virus wouldn't impact us from this day forward. That's really what I would want. I hope that's what everyone wants. Though I have a sneaking suspicion a lot of the establishment Democrats want things to get bad so that they can take back political power. So no matter how this ends up, just remember this. Before one person died in the United States of the coronavirus, before one person died, they were already blaming Trump. The New York Times put out an article calling it the Trump virus. Media people all over the place, Democrat politicians were saying Trump this, Trump that, Trump this, Trump that, before one person died. They couldn't even wait until it was a big deal in the U.S. to blame Trump. What if it wouldn't have happened? If it's Trump's fault, before one person died, they're like, oh, this is Trump's fault. Let's say that it wouldn't have spread here, really. No one really would have died. Then what? Would they have said, oh, it was Trump's, thanks to Trump, no one died. Would they have said that? If it's Trump's fault if it's bad, then isn't it Trump's fault if it ends up good? Of course they wouldn't have said that. It would have been Obama somehow. Oh, thanks to Obama. How can you take these people seriously? I mean, we know that they held up on 2 days for discussing funding for the coronavirus in Congress so that Pelosi and the Democrats could fundraise off Trump not doing enough on coronavirus. I mean, that's disgusting. They're fundraising off of the coronavirus, saying that somehow they would have handled it better than Trump. It's unbelievable. oh, well, Trump's speech, Trump could have gave a better speech. And, Trump should have had the testing kits out more. And it's all Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault. Absolutely disgusting. Has anyone who's making that argument turned an eye to the other side? Oh, if Trump would have been allowed to control immigration like he suggested, then the chance of a pandemic spread would have been far less than what it otherwise is. Has one of the people blaming Trump done that? Am I saying Trump did a perfect job? I don't know. Probably not. Would any of president in history done a perfect job? No, probably not. I don't know. I don't have the answers. But the glee and the willfulness for these people, even before anyone died, to start blaming Trump is appalling. They are giddy. They want people to die. They want your finances to collapse so they can say, vote for us. We'll be in power. Imagine, remember H1N1, which I'll get to in a second, 60,000 Americans died. How much blame did Obama get? You remember any of this stuff? Let's just get to that. The number one. H1N1 virus. 60,000 Americans died. Do you remember how the media reacted during that? Do you remember the media saying, oh, Obama needs to tell the NBA to shut down. Obama needs to stop campaigning. Obama needs to stop having rallies. Do you remember any of that? Instead, what they were saying was, keep yourself safe. Get to the doctor if you need to. But remain calm. There is no doubt in my mind, unless things get catastrophically bad with this disease, which I don't see happening in the way it would take, that the disease itself will be less damaging to the United States than the fear-mongering that surrounded it. There's no doubt in my mind. And so the media and the Democrats, they were correct during H1N1 to say, yes, they talked about it, and yes, that could be considered fear-mongering of some kind. But in reality, they basically told people, stay calm. These things happen. We're trying to solve the situation. Look at the direct opposite reaction today. I mean, Trump gives a speech. Jim Acosta, CNN, their first comment on Trump's speech about the coronavirus isn't, hey, remember, Americans, this is what Trump said that, the president says is how ways you could protect yourself. Can you believe he said it was a foreign virus? Yes, because it is a foreign virus. I can believe it. Imagine during the Spanish flu outbreak, Spanish flu? That's risky. We don't want to call it the Spanish flu. Shame on the doctors trying to solve this crisis for calling it the Spanish flu. They're racist. I'm not going to take no medication that some racist doctor that calls it the Spanish flu came up with. I mean, are you joking? It's unbelievable. It's clear that this is being politicized. It's clear. Not everyone. But it's clear a lot of people that are movers and shakers in this country, whether it be establishment Democratic politicians, media people, etc., they want the situation to drag on. They want you, I'm not saying they want you to die of the coronavirus, but they want it to be a big deal and they want your finances to suffer. They absolutely do. They understand that the number one thing Trump has going for him in the 2020 election is the status of the economy. What did I tell you? Again, I didn't call it would be a pandemic, but I said, I've been warning people for months. Everyone's saying, Trump's got 2020 locked up. No problem. It'll be a landslide. He's going to win 49 out of 50 states. What did I say? Don't get overconfident. Don't anticipate just how corrupt they are. They're going to intentionally collapse the economy. That's what they're going to do. And now where are we? Look, never overestimate yourselves or the side you're supporting. Yes, there are a lot of people that are waking up. Thank goodness for it. But there are still millions and millions of people in the middle that are ignorant of the corruption that goes on in politics. They're ignorant of how the globalists are trying to screw them over. They're not necessarily Trump haters, but they're not necessarily Trump supporters. Some are independent. Some think I'm not paying attention to politics whatsoever. You take away those people's livelihood. Oh, you can't go to work now. Oh, you can't go to Walmart to pick up your, whatever you need. Oh, you can't go to your bank. Oh, you can't stay home and watch baseball or basketball. Now a bunch of people in the middle that weren't really involved, they're open to like, oh, okay, what's going on? Oh, everyone with a voice is telling me it's Trump's fault? Must be Trump's fault. And meanwhile, people like me that have tried to be independent voices, we don't have the audience that mainstream media has. Yes, the mainstream media's audience is downsizing, but this is why we need to go on the offense. So, I mean, that's my feeling on it. That's what I see going on. Now, this next part, that's the politicization of it. You know, is there more to it? Is this going to lead to martial law? Is it going to lead to people being put in FEMA camps? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't see that right now. I see this as a test run. I think that the establishment, that the FBI and the CIA, they're watching carefully on how many rights can we take away from people until they say enough is enough. I think they're certainly watching that. I think even more troubling, perhaps, is what's the lesson China's learned from all this? Who, let's not kid ourselves, is our biggest geopolitical rival, not Russia, as you might have heard. So China learns, so wait a minute, you're telling me to grind the United States to the halt. All we got to do is spread some fear about the flu every year? That's it? Wow. Amazing. China's already involved in, infiltrated so much of our entertainment industry, our academia. All they got to do is start, this year the flu, we're going to call it the Heineken virus this year. Yeah, the Heineken virus is going to be terrible. So, you know, you better shut down commerce in the United States. Don't worry, China will pick up the global slack. They couldn't ask for a better weapon. They don't even have to do anything. So, I mean, I think there are good things, as I said the other day, that could potentially come out of this. Maybe this will wake up people in the United States to realize that politicians sold us out by selling our manufacturing sector and all of our medical supply sector out to China. Maybe we'll start to push forth bill and incentivizing bringing back manufacturing and blue-collar jobs. Maybe we'll start to realize that we could do a lot of things online that we normally thought we couldn't, like schooling. Like, I'm a big advocate for having politicians stay in their home communities more, instead of in DC, and then using the internet and things like I'm using now to be able to talk in and to have these discussions that you see in Capitol Hill, etc. But I don't want to talk about that for the rest of the show, so I got about a half hour left, and I want to talk about something that's really difficult, and that is calculating risk in how we live our lives. Okay, so this is going to get complicated and sound like a lot of numbers, but I'm not a very smart person, so I'll try to make it as easy as possible. Let's say, hypothetically, and I've heard numbers like this banted about, that in the United States, the mortality rate of the coronavirus will be 1%. Okay? That means out of every 100 people get the coronavirus, 1 will pass away. I'm not interested in, well, yeah, it'll be the elderly or children. It's still this. That's a terrible tragedy, regardless if it's someone with an already compromised immune system or not. So we'll just say 1%. Yeah. Let's say the virus could affect 1 million people in the United States. So if 1% of that million die, that's 10,000 people. So we'll just say hypothetically that would be the amount. How much of your freedom are you willing to give up to save those 10,000 people? It's a tough question. That's what policy making is. We want to pretend that it's always, my plan's the best and there's no downside, versus the other side saying, no, your plan's terrible and there's no downside to my plan. The truth is, almost any plan you come up with has pros and cons. So when we're weighing things like taking measures to ensure that there's not a spread of this virus, and the government saying you can't travel to this place, or we won't leave people travel from this place, or you can't have sporting events, or these types of businesses need to shut down, right? Whether it be governmentally ordered or, your businesses or you yourself making that choice, non-governmentally ordered. We have to weigh the cost benefit. Now, the way this works is if the potential tragedy is so bad, then it justifies more of an invasion into, quote, freedom. So, for example, if we found out this was coming from Wuhan originally, and Trump would have said, we don't want to allow airplanes to and from that district of China. The cost is, yeah, it sucks. If you wanted to go to Wuhan, or you were someone in Wuhan that wanted to come to the United States, you no longer could travel there. That's a cost. It is. But the benefit is that region could literally cause an explosion of this pandemic if we allow people to from there. So the cost of not doing that could be catastrophic. So it seems to me that it would have made sense. That was a plan worth taking. The benefit outweighed the cost. The benefit of millions of people not getting a virus potentially outweighed the cost of no travel to the specific area in China. The same's true of China in a greater sense. Is it true of Europe? You might say, look, I was fine with banning travel to China, but I had tickets to go visit my aunt who lives in Germany. Now I'm mad. I travel for my job. I'm furious. I have friends that work at my company that were over in Germany for 2 weeks. They were supposed to come back. Now they're stuck there. Now you'd be furious. Well, that's because it has impacted you individually. But if we step back and look at it in a grander scale for the country, was that cost benefit worth it? I think it was, but I don't know. We're shutting down businesses. We're telling people, shutting down professional sports. We're shutting down Disney World. We're shutting down trucking events. I personally know that it's been shut down. Businesses that relied on these sorts of entertainment thing. Maybe you're just a mom and pop diner that's next to where the St. Patty's Day parade was going to occur, and that's usually your biggest day or something. Well, you lose out in that business. People aren't, etc. It seems like maybe it only affects these big businesses, but it doesn't. It's affecting all sorts of smaller businesses as well. It's affecting everyone who has a 401k, etc. How far are we willing? And that's just a lot of choices we as individuals or companies without governmental coercion are making. How far are we willing to allow our government to go? To coerce us to say, in the name of, we have to take away your freedom in this area to stop a potential pandemic. This is the argument. And by the way, this argument cross applies to so many subjects. Healthcare, immigration, education. What the left has done, the establishment left, is because they're always on the offense and they control the discussion, they say, we on the left care about people. We don't want people to die of the coronavirus. Therefore, you have to agree with our plan, or you don't care if people die from the coronavirus. And the truth is, there is some logic in what they're saying. I read this thing from Ron Howard the other day in one of my live streams. And it said how I define myself as a liberal. This is how liberals define themselves. And this is what it was doing. It was basically implying we care about the poor. We care about the sick. We care about the immigrants. So that's why we're liberals. In other words, if you're not a liberal, then you don't care about those groups. I said, that's nonsense. One of the things that it said in there was, in a civil society of means, such as the United States, there should be not one person suffering from homelessness, blah, blah, blah. And I said, that's outrageous. There will never be a society, no matter how you define civility, that will have zero homeless people. There just won't. If you did do that, that probably means you're involved in some sort of authoritarian, insane, culling of homeless people. Because there will be people that choose, whether it be through mental illness or whatever else, to not live in a home. So how do you get to 0%? So to say if it's not 0%, it's uncivil, is a lie. It's living in utopia. It's not reality. It's the same with this coronavirus. Well, we can't let one person die. Okay? If you start with that, right? If you say we can't allow the coronavirus to kill anyone. Okay, if that's where you're starting, then a bunch of stuff makes sense. It makes sense for the government to say you can't leave your home. Right? Now, most people could see, whoa, that's way too extreme. You can't just tell people they can't leave their home for 3 months. because you refuse to accept one death from the coronavirus. Heck, that would cause deaths in other ways. So it's clear to see that extreme vision, the extreme premise, we can't allow one person to die from coronavirus, is not feasible. It's just not. But if you adopt that premise, then all of a sudden you're for all sorts of authoritarian crap from the government. Now, I think it's also clear that you don't want total anarchy, where it just says, hey, the government has no say in anything. Do what you want. It's not the government's responsibility to try to stop any impact of the coronavirus. Most people would say that's not a good position either. We pay a lot of tax money. One of the things they should be doing is trying to help pandemics and things like that. So now you see that it's some sort of compromise. How much freedom and liberty are we willing to give up to solve something like a pandemic? And it's an important question. Let me give you some examples. What I'm saying about the establishment left is they'll act like you're a monster if you say that some loss of human life is acceptable. How dare you, they'll say. Who are you to say that? Okay, but let's run this experiment through. So one of the things that makes the United States a great place is our interstate highway system. It was originally built during the Eisenhower administration, and it was actually a military thing. They wanted to be able, because the United States' landmass is so expansive, they wanted to be able to ship military equipment from base to base to be ready for some sort of attack and things like that. But also then they realized, well, civilians could use this for travel, and it's made our lives wonderful. The ability to travel at that high rate, trips that used to take 3-4 weeks, by horse and buggy, now you could get in one day. Thanks in part because of the automobile and because of the highway system. But you understand with the highway system where you could travel, let's say 70 miles an hour, there will be automobile accidents and there will be deaths. Now, we could almost bring those deaths to zero if we limited the speed limit to 5 miles an hour. The only deaths that would occur would be by lawbreakers then. But 5 miles an hour. Then if you get in a crash, hey, not going to be a death. Probably not even a serious injury. Are you willing to accept that? Are you willing to say, yes, I refuse to allow one person to die of an automobile accident, therefore the speed limit should be 5 miles an hour? Of course you're not willing to accept that. If we're just talking about loss of life, it's not hard to see how having a speed limit of 5 miles an hour would literally lead to a loss of life. Quite literally in a situation where an ambulance needed to get through, but it can't because everyone's going 5 miles an hour, and so therefore someone dies, but also through all sorts of other things, like the economy would grind to a halt, which would mean people that have poor health conditions would be less likely to get medications, healthcare, etc. that they need because our economy would grind to a halt, which means more people would die indirectly as a result of something like that. It would also bring your enjoyment factor in life down to incredible lows compared to what it is now, as you would almost be better off to walk places than to drive there. It would destroy the automobile industry. It would destroy all sorts of industries that require the shipment of goods, which is about every industry, etc. So we all intuitively, you don't run that calculation through your head, but you intuitively understand, yes, I am willing to accept some risk that lives will be lost for the greater good, for there to be freedom, for there to be maximum enjoyment for the maximum amount of people in this country, or whatever country you're in, but particularly the United States, because that's where I'm at. Now, this sounds like I'm meandering and sounds like nonsense, but really think through what I'm saying here. Now, take this to healthcare. It's the same crap with Bernie, Medicare for all. How far are we willing to take this experiment? If healthcare is a human right, and we should basically have open borders, that means every single person in the world that wants treated, we have the obligation as citizens of the United States to have our government take care of them. That means probably conservatively 95% of your wealth goes to make sure that healthcare is a human right and not one person should be refused healthcare. Let's just be honest. 90 to 95% of your earnings go to that then. You okay with that? I'm not. Well, they control the narrative, the establishment left. They say, you're a monster. Oh, as long as you're alive, you don't care if those other people die. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the cost outweigh that. It's not feasible. You're talking about a utopia. There will always be people that don't have access to the proper health care. And to try to say, we'll make it so everyone in the world can have it is absurd and would collapse our economy and lead to more deaths and decline quality of life for all of us. But they control the narrative, so they control it full stop. You don't care if people die. You're greedy, you're immoral. This is the exact same thing that's being done with the coronavirus. Oh, you can't go out shopping. You got to hoard up on toilet paper. You can't go to an event. You can't do this. You can't do that. Or else you don't care. You don't care. This is why we should have had Medicare for all, because of the coronavirus. How do you think the country looks in 6 to 8 months of that? Of no one engaging in commerce? How do you think that's going to look? Was it worth it? How many people may have died? Is it going to be more than the 60,000 that died of H1N1? The exact same people now that are demanding, stay in your house, don't have commerce, it's all Trump's fault. Those exact same people were saying, stay calm. Obama's doing a great job. 60,000 died. 60,000 people. The flu kills tens of thousands a year in this country. Complications from diabetes, complications from smoking, hundreds of thousands. If we set the precedent now, we can shut the country down because of some virus. If we set that precedent, what do we do about the diabetes epidemic? Once we have Medicare for all, remember, I'm a fat guy. I could control diabetes basically through better dieting and better exercising, right? I could. If we accept the premise that it's a human right that we have health care, and therefore the government must provide it for everyone, which, by the way, there is no such thing as government-provided health care. It's us that pay for the health care, so it's us. So it's you that pays for my health care. So if we accept the premise, you have to pay for my health care no matter what poor decisions I make, why should I then get to protest if you say, okay, well, if I'm paying for you, fatty, here's a list of foods you're not allowed to eat. And by the way, we're going to send a government agent in to make sure you don't have these foods in your house. Is that the type of world we want to live in? Where's our personal freedom gone there? Now listen, again, I get it. It sounds like, what am I talking about? I'm talking about we should not give up our freedoms and our liberties flippantly. We shouldn't. What's the promo video for my channel say? Why is the United States the greatest country in the history of the world? Because it's codified in its foundational documents that the focus of the country was the individual and the ideas of personal liberty and personal responsibility. If we take these steps that say anytime there's a risk of people, and again, I'm not talking, if the risk goes up, it was some virus that's killing 40 to 50% of the people that get it, then yes, you weigh the cost benefit, and maybe then it's like, it makes sense to shut all this stuff down. But does it now? 1% death rate? And here's the real kicker. We know that even if it does make sense, that there are people chomping at the bit that want the economy to go down so they can blame Trump. So that already makes me hesitant to want to give up my freedom for this. And as far as I'm concerned, maybe you're different. I don't trust any of these people at all. None of them. Federal agents that are willing to pressure the Ukraine to stop investigating election interference that benefited Hillary, and then go in front of Capitol Hill and say, oh, how dare Trump try to pressure Ukraine into something. Executive agencies that said, we're going to go after conservatives and audit them with taxes. An EPA that said, we're going to do all sorts of corrupt things to benefit Obama allies. An FBI that said, we're going to manufacture evidence to say the opposite of what it was supposed to say to try to take down this president. Why would I all of a sudden trust other executive agencies? Why should I? How many times do I have to be lied to but say, okay, I'll listen to you this time. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'll stay inside. I won't do anything. Yep. Saving lives, saving lives. Why should I believe them? Now you might say, Rob, what a terrible way to live. That's not my fault. I wasn't the one that lied over and over. I wasn't the one that lied to get us in these insane foreign regime change wars all the time. I wasn't the one that lied that said we have to bail out banks because they're too big to fail and then didn't punish any of them. I wasn't the one who said we're going to charge everyone connected to Trump with any crime we could find, but us and the intel agencies will commit the very same crimes of lying to the FBI and Congress with impunity. So now all of a sudden, Rob, but this time you got to trust the executive agencies. Sorry, this time trust the media, Rob. No. Sorry. I'm not saying they're wrong for sure, but I ain't trusting them. And so when they say, you have to give up your freedom, We want the government to come in and sanction your freedom. I'm okay with the travel ban right now. I think that makes sense proportionally. But how far are we willing to go with this? How long are you willing to accept, hey, we shouldn't have any sports, we shouldn't have any concerts, we shouldn't have any gatherings with more than 20 to 30 people? How long are you willing to accept that? Give me the number. If potentially 10,000 people could die of an illness, that means we should shut down all large gatherings in the United States for 3 months. Is that the standard now? Any disease that has the potential to kill 10,000 people means for 3 months we shut down the country. Is that what we're going with from here on forward? I just want to know. So that's where I'm at. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't know. Here's another thing. They say testing kits. Yeah, maybe Trump screwed up with the testing kits. I don't know. I haven't seen someone tell me how they would have accomplished this better. Again, I've already talked about the same people that are yelling about testing kits want open borders, which would have made the pandemic worse. Here's my thought. If you go to the doctor and you have flu-like symptoms and they tell you you might have the flu, then self-isolate, right? Don't go out. Are you really like, oh man, I'm throwing up. I feel like I have this horrible flu. Oh, well, I'm going to go to my son's ball game because I don't definitively know it's the coronavirus. Like, just don't go out. If you have the flu, don't go out until you don't have the flu. I know it's not that simple, but that seems to be a lot of it. You know, I feel like I don't know. I just don't know what's expected of us. And I feel like this is some sort of test. It used to be, and I say this all the time, and I am going to wrap up here because I do have a birthday party to get to. Yeah, that's right. I'm going out and hanging out with people. Freedom, baby. I've said this, I don't know how many times on this channel, right? You used to have, and all governments do this, but the United States government's guilty of this as well, right? Where they would set up a boogeyman. Oh, man, it's the Shah in Iran. Oh, man, those Soviets, we have to fund the Mujahideen. Oh, man, we got to overthrow Libya. It's Gaddafi in Libya. Oh, it's Saddam in Iraq. Oh, it's Assad in Syria. All these places, these disastrous foreign regime change wars that they lied us into. The problem is this. As the world becomes more interconnected, it's hard to sell the Russians as the boogeyman. You could say Putin's the boogeyman, but the actual Russian, you can get in your computer right now and talk to the Russian. Regular people in Russia. And you're like, oh yeah, most people are people. They're, well, it's hard to sell them as this big boogeyman. So they understand that they needed an enemy to strip you of your rights, but it wasn't good anymore to have an enemy that you could talk to. So what'd they come up with? Climate change. People are chomping at the bit to sell away their livelihood and all their freedom in the name of fighting climate change. Yes, please give the government total control over the energy sector and the economy. Please take away my right to own a private car. Please take away my right to choose to eat meat if that's what I choose. Please, in the name of God, save us all. Please, government. The boogeyman is so real. That's what people did. I think this pandemic's another form of that. And I think in some level, not saying that this was released intentionally, that's not what I'm saying. But I think that there's like this test going on with the establishment. How much are people willing to take? How much through fear-mongering can we get them to throw away their freedom? Hey, thanks, Kenneth. I really appreciate it. How much can we get them to do that? You know anyone in your life that's died of the coronavirus? What's the number even supposedly up to? I have no clue. 30? Let's say 100. 100 people died? That's terrible. I feel for each and every person that died of this virus and every other virus. And just of old age. I feel for them all. Or maybe you died. Someone died of, probably not you if you're watching. But, I feel bad for people that died of other causes that weren't illness related. Of course, I do. I'm not a monster. But how much of your freedom are you willing to give away for that? A lot, it turns out. A lot of people. It's hard to fearmonger them into the Russians are going to bomb you. Those days have passed. But You can't go outside or this virus will get you. Well, what's the numbers? Give us the facts. How many people has the virus got? Like a dozen? Yeah. You could be next. Okay? Again, I don't begrudge people that have a serious concern. You should. You shouldn't be relying on the government for your sole protection. You should be prepping in some way. I'm with all that. I'm not saying you're a terrible person if you think this is the real deal and could be some giant pandemic. Maybe you're right. I don't know. But what I do know is people don't know, and they're certainly willing to give up their rights when it comes to some boogeyman like this. And I know, for a fact I know, as I proved, that there are people politicizing this and hoping that you'll suffer economically. You might even suffer health-wise if it means that they could win an election. That's certainly true. And so you should be incredibly hesitant to give up your freedom. Incredibly. So, that's it. That's the Normal American Show for the day. What do you think? I ranted on. So, I didn't get a good job of reading the comments here. If you're watching on, or if you're listening on the podcast, I have people commenting on DLive and YouTube. So, I apologize I didn't do the best job of reading the comments. But I'm assuming the comments were, wow, Rob, you're amazing. No, I don't know that it was quite that, but yeah, I just thought I wanted to hit on those two things, the politicization and like trying to take a real look at what it means to do a cost-benefit analysis. You know, I think that this is like a test. I think that it doesn't have to be intentional, that we're being conditioned to accept the loss of our freedoms. And the next time that it will be easier if they make the pandemic, if it's something that's worse than the coronavirus, people will be conditioned to accept these sort of things, that their livelihoods and their normal way of life can just be stopped on a dime like that. And I think it's a very dangerous thing. I was just long-winded. It took me an hour to say it. So, yeah, I'll wrap up with this. Thank you all very much. I'll just make a brief plea to possibly sending me some financial donations. Kenneth is the man as always. I got some great patrons that donate to me. You could donate to me, links at the description if you're watching on YouTube, DLive or something, where you could donate to me on PayPal. You could donate to me on Patreon, or you could super chat me if you're on YouTube, or send me lemons if you're on DLive. If you missed at the beginning of the show, there's a significant chance I will be changing jobs. I'll have more details on that soon, but it's something that will keep me more involved politically. It will be a significant pay cut for me, and it's scary because I do have a mortgage and things like that. So any financial contributions you can give would be fantastic, because I'll put them right into this show and being able to get me to do more content on here. The plus sides, though, are I will have more of a direct reach directly into politics around. And also, it will give me a lot more time to actually be doing material, so my content will increase and hopefully the quality of it. But if you could give financial donations, I'd really appreciate it. It would really help me now more than ever, believe it or not. But aside from that, as always, if you can't give donations, don't worry. I know what it's like to be a poor guy. I'm not going to stop my content no matter what. I might have busy weeks like this week and not get as much out, but I really am trying to get out there and do as much as possible. I will give the chest out here on DLive. So yeah, just my nightly plea to send me money, but I really appreciate, you could also, if you want to support me, just please like and subscribe, and please recommend me to some other people. I think I'm interesting. I don't know about you all, but no, it really is. Every little bit helps if you get someone listening to me. You guys are the best audience. Not only do you send me a bunch of great information material, I've had people personally call me. They got involved and sent me some great things. My friend Preacher on here talks to me all the time. So, it's really humbling to know that there are so many of you that are out there looking for it. Now, the DLive thing's messing with me again. It won't let me distribute rewards. Oh, I don't have enough lemons for it to distribute, it's saying. Okay, I guess I'll add lemons. Adding lemons. All right, there we go. Now I can distribute. Okay, that'll be 30 seconds. But thank you, everyone. I do really appreciate it. Even if you can't donate, like I said, if you can donate. And remember, as always, if you don't donate, the Russians are winning. You want the Russians to win, right? They might put more ads on Pokemon Go. Every lemon you don't give me goes directly to Don Lemon. How's that? Is that a better way of putting it? So once these distribute, I'll be out. But thank you guys so much. It was a lot of fun. Stay safe out there. But look, it's not the end of the world, no matter what people are telling you. Congratulations to Mark, Raul, Ken, and Harmony, the big chess winners with the lemons. So thank you. Also, if you're not following me on D Live and you're on YouTube, please go check it out. I'm just Rob Knorr on D Live. Check it out. If I get up to 200 subscribers on there, I could do more on that platform. So I'd really appreciate it. So, all right, everyone. I'm going off to a birthday party. I should have a lot of fun. You guys are the best. If you didn't donate to me now, you could always do it in PayPal, Patreon if you feel like it later. If you can't donate, that's fine. Please just like and subscribe. And check out, I'm going to be trying to do more videos as the week goes on. So thank you so much, everyone.